On this week's episode of Amari Purple Talk, we're going to need more Prince on SiriusXM. What will be the next Prince and the Revolution era release? And more. Amari Purple Talk starts now. That's right. This is another episode of Amari Purple Talk. It's a podcast where we talk about Prince and nothing but Prince. Prince music, Prince movies, Prince videos, Prince everything. That's right. This is where you get your daily dose of Prince vitamins. It's fun. It's on the one. Check it out. Take a listen. Yes. Welcome to episode 40 of Amari Purple Talk, a podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, your imagination funk soloist. Let's dive right in, and we're going to talk about how we need more Prince on SiriusXM. All right, so today is May 25th, and we have just a few more days left to listen to Prince, the Prince channel on SiriusXM, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So, I had been really surprised when they announced it before May 1st that they were launching this special channel on SiriusXM. And I tuned in as much as I could on the first night and was very, very blown away by what I was hearing. If you go back a few episodes, you'll hear my initial reactions to that very first night, or first couple of nights actually, of listening to the broadcast. And, I've kind of had a chance to let it sink in, a couple of days where I've been off, kind of got to take a few hours and listen. I've also tried to listen in on the way to work. Sometimes on the way back to try to get in a few numbers. And, sometimes it's just like with any radio, there's like that certain block of songs where the flow is just absolutely perfect, or you're in the mood to hear a certain set of songs and then they're playing something you weren't quite ready for or in the mood for at that moment. But overall, if any of you listen to some of the other SiriusXM formats, especially, say, like the Beatles channel, or, I think there's a Doors channel also, of course, they have different formatted shows. Some, it's like, oh, here's all, 30 minutes of live material, or here's a certain segment, here's all this artist's songs that begin with the letter A, or they follow this certain theme. But what I really love about this one in particular is that they also had very special segments where you have the people involved, say like the Revolution, that's a big one. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, that's another one. And it focuses on a playlist of their favorite tracks. And you kind of get some insight, some stories behind it. Like, unlike, say, the Beatles channel, where, I don't know, if as much as I listen to it, I don't get a sense of, 1 or 2 degrees of separation. There's little sound bites, say from Paul or Ringo or something like that. But, you don't really get a sense of people that were there. They're sort of people that obviously love the Beatles, and they host their respective, segments on the channel. And you might get some information, stuff that if you're a fan, you already know. But I guess if you're a newbie, maybe you get some information or something. But the beauty of the Prince one is that, like I said, you have the people that were there as things were unfolding in real time, and you get the actual anecdotes and tidbits. And again, some of it we've all heard a million times before, but it's great if you're a fresh set of ears coming in for the first time. and you're hearing some of those stories, like the one where Lisa and Wendy were recounting them working on Purple Rain at the warehouse. And of course, this was long before there was a Paisley Park. They did everything in this warehouse, rehearsals. Actually, some recordings took place there as well. But the anecdote with the sort of homeless woman coming in on the bike, listening to Purple Rain, was emotionally moved by it. A lot of us have heard that story before, but like I said, if you're a fresh pair of ears coming in, hearing that for the very first time, it's very amazing to hear. But it is coming to an end just within a few days. I believe May 30th is the very last day of broadcast. But definitely, I really think there should be more. I think they should really make provisions with the estate to really make this a permanent thing. I mean, Prince is as legendary as you can get. And I mean, there's channels for, again, like I said, the Beatles. I'm sure there's an Elvis channel. I never bothered to look for it, but I'm sure that there's one that exists. The Doors. I know the first night it was really creeping me out. It's like, yeah, go here for the Prince channel, and then you switch it on, and then it says the Billy Joel channel or something. So, damn it, if Billy Joel can have a SiriusXM channel, Prince can have a SiriusXM channel as well, and it would be way cooler than a Billy Joel SiriusXM channel. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But I mean, with a permanent spot, I mean, that would open the door for lots more, well thought out segments. I mean, you can probably get, say, members of the Revolution to host a segment. Jimmy Jam already has a podcast on SiriusXM. Who knows? Maybe he can clear a schedule to do a half-hour segment or an hour segment of, Prince jams or specials. It doesn't have to be a daily thing. It could be something every week, or it could be something every month. Where it's, tracks and the stories behind the tracks, that type of thing. I mean, there's so many places, so many formats you could go. I would love to see segments hosted by some of the other, Prince podcast hosts. I'd even join in on it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I don't necessarily have to host one, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's what I would like to hear. With a segment, again, half hour, hour. Have some of these shows kind of go national on that level. Yeah. And two, if it's permanent, it would open the door to, say, preview some vault tracks, or say, this box set is coming. You heard it here first. This will be the first nugget from that. Here's the track from the vault that would be part of this box set, or here's the first from this compilation, or whatever, exclusives, or have a segment, Graffiti Bridge, what happened, kind of like a podcast documentary of the making of Graffiti Bridge. Play some tracks in between, have some of the, cast. You get an Ingrid Chavez in there. You have Jill Jones, members of the Time, George Clinton, Tevin Campbell, Mavis Staples, kind of give their reflections on the making of the film. Play some tracks that were intended for the film, maybe didn't make it. Graffiti Bridge has a long history going back to, I think, at least 1986. So as certain songs that may have been considered during the first draft of the script, second draft for the script, drop some of those nuggets in there too. Like I said, there's so many directions you could go with it. But definitely, I would love to see this channel come back and stay. Hats off to the estate for granting the permission to make this happen. And I hope that the door is open, for it to continue. So I don't know. I know there's been a lot of demand for it to continue, but what do you think? Would you like to see it continue? Would you like to see certain changes made in the format of the channel? What new and interesting things would you like to see added to it? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And all right, so we're going to move on. And we're also going to talk about, speaking of compilations, box sets, and things of that nature. So, Sony, their first standalone release. What should it be? Well, I think, if nothing else, Sony's first standalone Prince release should be a mind-blowing compilation. All right, so we are pretty much in the middle of 2020, and to say that we all sort of pictured 2020 going a bit differently in our minds is pretty much an understatement right now. So basically, we don't know what's going on. We don't know when things are going to, or people are kind of slowly reopening here and there. Yeah, you've heard me vent and comment. We'll kind of keep it short and simple when it comes to that. But, regardless of what everyone's feelings are, in regards to this, as far as records coming out, movies coming out, nobody knows what's happening at this point. Granted, hopefully this week I will be getting my Rainbow Children and Up All Night Alone set. Hopefully that will be arriving. But if it's a delay, I will understand. Because, rather people be safe or making sure things are running with some type of efficiency. If it's a thing of needing time for the manufacturing plants to crank some more out. I don't know how many initially were pressed at first. So to meet the demand and to fulfill all the pre-orders, I get it. Take your time, make sure everything's done right. I'm not going anywhere, so I can wait. But with that being said, we also had that rumor before all of this happened that there was going to be a Sign of the Times Super Deluxe Edition. Of course, obviously still no word from the estate or Warner Brothers or Sony even in regards to if that is coming out or even when it's coming out. And of course, we're, about 7 months away, or less than 7 months away from 2021, where Sony gets the license to the masters to the majority of the classic material from late 70s, early 80s. So, with things in flux, or if things get to a point to where we have to wipe the slate clean and start some things over or switch some things around. But at some point, 2021, Sony's going to have the license to everything. So again, we've discussed all the possibilities for the stuff that we already know, whether it's an Around the World in a Day box set, Sign of the Times, Super Deluxe, Greatest Hits packages, compilations of vault material. So usually, with legacy artists, I would say, again, Jimi Hendrix for me is always the measuring stick with this one. But, you get your greatest hits, compilations, you've got your live concerts, either that had been released or have not been released or officially released, that type of thing. But you also get some very interesting compilations. There was a trilogy of albums that were released probably within a good 10-year span, maybe a little bit longer. That was Valleys of Neptune, People, Hell, and Angels, and Both Sides of the Sky. All three are very well thought out compilations of basically just vault material. Just vault material. And granted, a couple of those, there's repetition. I mean, there's, Jimmy recorded a lot of versions, both studio and in concert, of Hear My Train A Comin'. And those have been released by Sony because they've had the licensing of the master recording since 2009, where before Universal had the license to it. The Hendrix family owns everything, so they were in a position to make those type of business decisions and make those deals happen. So everything since 2009 has been under Sony's umbrella. So I guess it's a pretty lucrative business arrangement. Haven't heard any, that I know of, any complaints from the, Experience Hendrix LLC regarding how things have turned out. But they've churned out a lot of great box sets and live material. Those three compilations I just mentioned, reissuing the classic albums, and I guess, whatever tie-in material, DVDs, that sort of thing. Excellent job. So I'm expecting nothing less when it comes to handling the Prince material in 2021 onwards. And I'm sure that they already have a plan mapped out for 2021. I mean, obviously by the start of 2021, I'm assuming that all of the Prince reissues regarding, say, Rainbow Children, One Night Alone, we've had Raven to the Joy Fantastic, Musicology, things like that. There's just a handful of releases left. I mean, there's still Crystal Ball to release or re-release. The Truth, we still have that to release. I mean, I guess you could put out a set containing the Chocolate Invasion Slaughterhouse, but it's pretty much getting near the end of reissues as far as that material goes. And then from there, Sony can concentrate on reissuing the classic albums, just as standalone releases, and then focus on box sets. And like I said, I'm sure Sony, along with Michael Howe, along with the estate, I'm sure they already have a plan mapped out already. But 2021 aside, like I said, I'm sure that there's a plan for 2021. What that plan is, we have no idea. However, if it comes to, at some point, whether it's 2021, late in 2021, whether it's 2022, 23, 24, maybe even 25, that you would have to get to a point to where you're going to have to meet the need of the fan base and newbies as well and maybe even some, get some mainstream listeners or serious collectors of records and that type of thing to get on board. And the way to do that would have to be some type of compilation of entirely unreleased material. And it has to be a collection or a suite of songs that feel like they belong together. Now, last episode we discussed where Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis discussed with Prince the possibility of remixing some vault material. That idea aside, taking a suite of songs that were, the best ones finished by Prince, only thing they need to do is just have the tapes go through the mastering process, sequence the album, and, manufacture, distribute it, get it to stores, get it to Amazon, get it into our hands. So it would have to be a suite of songs. And I'm thinking it would have to be not a collection from the 80s, per se. Not even necessarily from the 90s. I would like to see a compilation. And now, mind you, not necessarily the album or albums that he was working on prior to his passing. And that's, Black is the New Black. I guess a piano and microphone album release. Not talking about those, but just taking whether, from anything from the 21st century. So from, the year 2000 up until 2015, 2016, get a collection of songs, kind of just cherry pick the best ones. If they can all follow a certain theme, by all means, do it. If you can take, just have them feel like they just belong on the same album together. So anything that's from 2000 to, like I said, 2015, 2016, whatever. Just get a collection of songs, however many, 10, 12, whatever it takes. Master them. No remixing, as far as don't add any computers to it. Don't make it try to sound like it was done yesterday. Just the best, as complete material as you can find. If it follows a certain theme, if the songs just flow together, it doesn't necessarily have to follow a theme. But just one mind-blowing compilation. And number one, it would accomplish this. Number one, it would be something that would feel organic, as in it would feel so fresh. Like I said, not like it sounds like yesterday. Even though it's kind of, if you get to 2014, 15, 16, it would be contemporary enough, but it's contemporary because it was done in real time. But have it be to where it has that organic feel, it's that type of collection that it makes the critics acknowledge it. The serious music fans, not necessarily Prince fans, but music fans. And I'm not talking about top 40 or pop or anything like that, but somebody that's like, they've got a couple of Neil Young albums, maybe not every one, but they have just enough of the classic material. And then there's that one compilation or that one unreleased album that drops. And it's like, oh, I got to have that in my collection. Or, I've read that Rolling Stone gave this 4 stars, so I'm going to go get it. The music enthusiast, the serious collector, have them take notice. And for the fan base, I love the 80s because I was there. I was, a teenager and in college and, mid-20s by the end of it. So, yeah, those albums were happening. Like one day, Controversy didn't exist. Bam, if you turn on the radio, there it is. When Doves Cry didn't exist at one point, turn on the radio, bam, there it is. And now it's a part of your life. But the genius, just like a Bob Dylan or just like a Frank Zappa, just like George Clinton, the body of work goes beyond the classic material. You can't really even say that about Stevie Wonder. There's the early Motown stuff, which was great. And then there was the 70s output, which was even greater. And that alone justifies his place in music history. But as you got into the 80s and the 90s, and there was a couple of songs here and there, but nobody talks about In Square Circle the way one would talk about Inner Visions. Nobody talks about Conversation Piece the way that Songs in the Key of Life is discussed. And granted, there's some good songs, there's some great songs that are on it. But as an album, as a collection of songs, as an anthology of songs, no, nobody really remembers it unless you're a diehard Stevie Wonder fan. So with Prince, like I said, forget about the mainstream. It's, either they'll realize it at some point or not. It doesn't matter. But whether you liked a certain Prince album or not, he was constantly challenging himself and challenging the fan base. So he's one of those, like a Bob Dylan, like a Neil Young, like a David Bowie. They're constantly evolving and changing, and just when you think you've got it figured out, they've already gone left field, or they've gone, another 180 on you. So this compilation has to be a collection where it captures that particular mindset in the minds of the serious collector, in the minds of the diehard fan, even the newbie. So if, say, you're someone that, bam, you switched on the Grammy tribute and it's like, oh, this is great, I gotta go run out and buy Purple Rain now. And you go and you get that album or CD, and then you go, well, what else is there? And then you may go get Sign of the Times, or you may get Love Sexy, or you may get Controversy, you may get Dirty Mind, whichever. And it's like, okay, and it's like, in the back of your mind, eventually you're going to end up with all of those albums anyway. But in the meanwhile, bam, here comes a brand new compilation that none of us have heard before. And it's like, now you're hip. You've got 2 or 3 of the classic albums, or you got 2 of the classic albums and already one of the more obscure albums. So already you're now an expert. And now it's like, oh, there's this? And you get to be, like the rest of us, the ones that hear this and it just works. It fits. It was meant for now. And that's the thing. We also discussed last week about, well, this is what Prince wanted to do. Again, there's plenty of interviews, both in print and on television, where in the context of his vault, it was a thing of, I took the song as far as I could take it then. When I go back and if I pull it out, if I feel it's ready for now, then, he would tweak it or do whatever. Or in the case of Raven to the Joy Fantastic, he recorded that in 1988. And in an interview, he said, well, it reminds me too much of Kiss. So, hence, we didn't get to officially hear Raven to the Joy Fantastic until a good, 10, 11 years later. So, this would be the thing that Prince was always talking about. Never mind like something like Extra Lovable where he reworked it, because it fit, I mean, a lot of us still, prefer the original version, but I enjoy the heck out of the version he actually put out, and there were like 3 different versions. I like the one with the horns. As much as I criticized the horns during that period, I enjoyed it on that record. I did. So, that's one thing. And that was what he intended for his lifetime. But he was also aware that this stuff in the vault, I'm no longer going to be in control of it. It's going to go under somebody's control, and they're going to be the ones facilitating the release. So, never mind all that. Well, then don't buy the record, But don't ruin it for the rest of us, for those that are still going to support the estate or whatever you want to call it, protect the legacy or whatever. Ensure that, the family is taken care of when we support these projects with our money. But it's, he was very well aware of the fact that somebody, since he didn't have children of his own to make these decisions, then hopefully eventually the money will get into their hands. But they do control the master recordings, and they're the decision makers in that regard. So, it's Prince. We're still getting great music, so just shut up, about it. But I think that having that sort of standalone compilation, it would really give more of a testament to his genius than a box set or greatest hits, another greatest hits compilation. Even though those are necessary, and of course, as diehard fans, we want those type of things. But, a lot of times, because there is, like, especially with Prince anyway, there's so much material that we take a lot of it for granted. And in this particular case, I really feel we're taking the vault itself for granted. Because there's all the legendary stuff that we've heard, of which some of it has come out now, and I know there's still a lot more to come out. Each, as Parade will get a super deluxe, or Sign of the Times will get a super deluxe, Around the World in a Day will get a super deluxe. I'm sure Diamonds and Pearls will get a super deluxe, and on and on. We'll get those things eventually. But like I said, we take it for granted because there are songs or collections of songs, or even whole albums possibly, that really didn't fit the vein of whatever album, whether it's like Musicology or 3121 or Planet Earth or 2010, or even Artificial Age. I think there were some songs that I guess were intended to be a hit and run phase 3. And, those are the songs that I think will surprise even us. And I'm hoping that there's songs that we're not aware of, whether we just only know the titles to some of them, but we've never heard them. Like I said, a lot of the sort of classic bootlegs, that again, some of which are now have been officially released. That's been in our consciousness, for those of us that are old enough, for decades. At least since like the late 80s or early 90s, for some of us. And then even some of the newbies that have come along, and are just now playing catch up, they're aware of the classic bootlegs, especially if you follow Questlove, he'll definitely keep you aware of it, or he kept you aware of it for a long time. So, I think just to have something that would just completely captivate all of us in the Prince musical singularity, the deep dive fan base, the newbies that come along, that sort of thing. I think that's something that Sony and the estate should consider integrating in whatever future plans. Like I said, I doubt, and then again, they may already have that as a plan. But if they don't, obviously they have something ready for 2021. I don't know, will it be them putting out the Sign of the Times box set, or again, they may surprise us and come out with something totally opposite of what I'm talking about, but we'll still be surprised. But definitely at some point, for the newbies to really fully get the genius beyond just the hits, I think this compilation is something that should be considered. For those of us that have been around, whether it's since it's been For You, people like me that have jumped on Dirty Mind, or whenever you jumped on the bandwagon, in whatever year or era. Again, like I said, a lot of us, we take the vault for granted. We've got the volumes of, we got the vault volume. We've got Dwayne Tudhall's book and another book coming out next year. And I don't know, for those that read Uptown Magazine, those sort of things. So we've been, pretty privy to what's in the vault. And then as we've seen with the release of originals, I think even as far back as the Purple Rain Deluxe, there was some surprises, a song or two, but it was still a surprise. It was stuff that even the so-called collectors didn't even have. So to have an album where the majority, or at least half of those songs, are things that we never heard before. And like I said, it would really have all of us just take notice and like really marvel at the genius at that point. Like it would almost be therapeutic even, because it's like, again, it would be organic. And I mean organic, not contemporary, not trying to sound like whatever's going on the radio now. Like I said, give the exception of anything he recorded that was similar to what you heard on Hit and Run Phase 1 or even Artificial Age. Because like I said, that was unfolding in real time. That was during his lifetime. But have it be organic in the way that, like I said, as a music enthusiast, whether you're a musician, whether you just love collecting records, whether you just love music in general, to have that be a representation, or one of the representations of the genius. Because like I said, we go back and there's certain albums, for me, not necessarily the classic stuff, because I lived with that so long, because it was like day of release or within week of release. I've lived with those albums, and going back, some of them, one or two things I kind of hear, but there's things like again, 3121. Like I said, thanks to you guys out there, I enjoy that album now. I was kind of like, okay, I enjoy, 3 or 4 or 5 songs on it. But to respect it as an album as a whole, thanks to you guys, I enjoy it a lot more now. So that type of thing. Or I've gone back and listened to News. Let's see, what else? Chaos and Disorder, Emancipation. I've gone back and like really marvel, like, this is some genius work. It's like, before it's like, oh yeah, it's great. But now it's like, oh, this is okay. Yeah, man, the Emancipation album. Okay, when he says this is what freedom sounds like, now I get it. I get where he's going with that. So to have a compilation that would kind of generate those feelings would be pretty epic. But what's most important is, what do you guys think? Of course, we're going to get box sets. We're going to get greatest hits packages. Of course, the original albums will be re-released again, but it'll be just the single releases. If you want more, then buy the box set or the super deluxe edition or whatever. But how do you feel about having a compilation of just unheard of vault material, not tied to any one album, or that you could just listen to beginning to end and just appreciate the genius? What do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And with that, we're going to move on to the topic of, what will the next Prince and the Revolution era release be? Or what will be the next Prince and the Revolution release? Well, just the past week for charity, the estate released the Prince and the Revolution live concert. Originally, it was released on VHS back in '85, but it is also now part of the Purple Rain Deluxe. It's the extra DVD that you get if you don't have that. But it's great. Definitely check it out. I do recommend it. If you don't have the DVD already, or if you're planning on buying the Purple Rain Deluxe at some point, yes, definitely watch that. But you can also catch it on YouTube. I don't know how long it's going to stay up there, but check it out while you can. If not, then go buy the Purple Rain Super Deluxe and view it there. But it also brought to mind of, there was originally a documentary for the, let me get my memory together here, August 3rd of 1983, the benefit for, I believe it's the Minneapolis Dance Theater. But that was the concert Prince gave at First Avenue, in which I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, and Purple Rain were not only debuted, but the entire concert was recorded, and those 3 songs became the nucleus of the Purple Rain album. In other words, they took those 3 tracks, put in a few extra overdubs later, and that's what you hear on the Purple Rain album. So originally it was going to be a documentary, and if I'm not mistaken, Apple TV was supposed to produce and release that documentary. So it kind of brought to mind to what happened to that. I haven't heard any new information regarding it. There's been, again, no official word from the estate. Of course, I don't know if maybe Warner Brothers would have a hand in it, since they still would own it. Well, they own the master recordings to Purple Rain, but probably maybe or maybe not in that original form either. So But either way, no word from the estate, no word from Apple about the release of that documentary. Of course, there's been no official word from the estate regarding the Netflix documentary, but that would cover Prince's entire career, not just Prince in the Revolution era as well. But, there's a lot of great things done by Prince in the Revolution. There's of course, the Parade era, those tours, the Hit and Run. Quite a few of those have been professionally recorded, because I know the birthday show in Detroit, I think that was actually recorded for broadcast overseas, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, there's that. There's also a couple of other ones that were filmed pretty well or videoed well. So, I mean, that, could be one idea for, if you're going to focus on the Prince in the Revolution era, that's one idea. The benefit show is, I don't know. I haven't seen that in its entirety either. But if it does exist as far as film, releasing that in its entirety might be pretty good. I know I've heard it. I have a recording of it, but I feel, an entire film of that would work as well, or just be just as marketable. Let's see what else is, and I mean, not just DVDs. There's albums as well. I mean, of course, at some point we're going to get an Around the World in a Day box set. Covered that a few episodes ago of what I feel that should entail, as well as how awesome a Parade Super Deluxe would be too. So, I mean, obviously we'll get those. But, there's a possibility of, I don't know, would Rose House Garden still work if we're getting everything? Because we got basically the bulk of it on the Purple Rain Super Deluxe. I mean, now that's not to say, kind of going back to our compilation discussion, that would be mind-blowing. But Sony can take those particular tracks and fill it with, again, maybe some stuff that we're just not aware of. And as far as a Prince in the Revolution era release along those lines would be pretty awesome also. I mean, like I said, we discussed ad nauseum the previous topic about the, an original compilation, but one from the Revolution would work just as well. I mean, you could do both, but I think, that would be a great idea as well. And like I said, I don't know if you could call it that, or, again, a few episodes ago, we discussed to what extent Roadhouse Garden, the 1999 version, meaning that Prince had teased at some point of getting back together with the Revolution and coming out with some new material based on some of the tracks from the vault. And I don't know if that would have been, I guess in Prince's mind, it would have been getting those tapes to Wendy and Lisa and having them remix them and overdub them. Say maybe bring in, Brown Mark, Bobby Z, Dr. Fink, and work on it as well. I'm not sure what stage of completion that project was in. But if there is a version that's close to being finished, that would be the one exception where I would say, yeah, bring in the Revolution and, finish that and release that. That would be the exception. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of sort of, again, making somebody sound like they just came out yesterday. A few weeks ago, I was listening to the Marvin Gaye album Dream of a Lifetime, and there was a posthumous release or posthumous release where in that case they took a lot of the original tapes and made it sound like 1985. And I mean, some of it was cool, but a lot of the tracks actually we got the original versions of in later box sets, because a couple of those songs, I think if you got I know definitely the Let's Get It On deluxe edition, you get to hear some of those tracks in its original form. And I think, let's see, not the I Want You album. Maybe I think the What's Going On album, one or two of those songs were pulled from that era also. But there were a few that Marvin had around late 70s, pretty much during also the Midnight Love, / sexual healing sessions. There were a couple of tracks, unreleased tracks from that era that they used to make this compilation. But yeah, those were the ones, especially the ones from like the late 70s. They kind of overdubbed and made it sound like, that sort of very cheesy 80s drum sound. And yeah, I mean, it was okay for what it was. Again, a posthumous release. And then you have, of course, the Michael Jackson, the Escape album. That was the one they kind of, like I said, got all the producers of the day to, like I said, it just sounded so contemporary. It was eerie. It wasn't, it was like literally just kind of flying his vocals in from the grave almost. It sounds great, but, there's, like I said, that sort of eeriness about it that just bugs me. So I'm just a fan of, take it as it was then. Whatever elements are already there. If there's, 6 bass lines on it, okay, take out 3, or narrow it down to 1, or whatever you need to do. Or if there's 10 keyboard riffs, pick out what you think is the best keyboard riff that's already there and just put together your best representation of the mix on it. Not just like I said, just trying to get, throw it all into Pro Tools or Cakewalk or whatever and try to make it sound like today, but if that element of Roadhouse Garden is there, then by all means, yeah, definitely just in that particular case, just go for it. You've got all the Revolution there. Bring them back in, bring whoever, if, what's his name? Hans Martin Buff was working the engineering boards at that time, do so. Hell, if you want to bring Susan Rogers into the fold for that one, I'm not against that idea either. So I don't know. That's one possibility, but I don't know. I think for the most part that it somehow always ties in back to the Revolution. Because it's a part of the classic period. There were 3 great albums that was recorded under that name, and great tours. Now, there's, I don't know, I don't know, I'll get into my best, favorite band lineups at some point. But that was, you can't ignore history, and you can't ignore the fact that just worked. That particular ensemble just worked, and they worked with a particular function. And I think the critic, sometimes as, some musicians, and I guess I can get that way too, even though I consider myself more of a primitive. I'm not that technically caught up into, whatever. It's, I know what theory is, and, I know what's supposed to work, but it's better to go, for me, it's just better to go with what feels good or what sounds good, rather than, because they did that back in 1852. Well, who says? I don't really just bother with it. But, they worked. They were pretty good rockin', funky band. Granted, the time were a lot funkier, but they could hold their own. But I mean, like I said, it's that point of history, and they were a damn good little band, and they were pretty good for what they did. And like I said, the whole thing worked. I mean, I bought into it from the beginning, even before it was the revolution, back with if you get the Dirty Mind, the inner sleeve of it, and you got Andre and, and Bobby and the Doctor and, Lisa and the whole bit, that worked, that inner sleeve to 1999, where that worked. And as a musician, it's like, that's pretty cool. And it's like you wanted the band to be that cool. You either wanted the band to be as cool as the time, or you wanted the band to look as cool as that too, the revolution or pre-revolution as well. It's only afterwards it got to be a bit sophisticated, where it kind of got to be a little bit jazzier and kind of had to have a little bit more technical prowess. But, sometimes I just like a good, solid little band, and that worked. So, I don't know, like I said, the Apple TV thing, there's that. There's also the birthday show from First Avenue from 1984, June 7th. To me, that's my favorite Prince and the Revolution live recording overall. And the more I listen to it, the more I just enjoy it. I mean, that's definitely one that I want to see released as really a standalone CD. That's one of those, it's right there, entrenched in Prince history. It's legendary. It's a favorite compilation for a lot of the fan base. And like I said, a lot of newer listeners, I mean, it's something to get into. It's real music. It's real musicians. The microphones are on. And I guarantee that whenever that comes out, I mean, you can go seek it out now if you like. But since it was professionally recorded, that's definitely one I want to hear cleaned up, well mastered, packaged well, and again, do it as a standalone CD. I don't need it in a box set. Don't necessarily want it in anybody's box set. Just put that thing out. Like I said, if that's something, if you want to surprise a lot of us, and again, I know a lot of fans of the later eras, you'll gripe about it, but just hear me out, because I think what we'll get from here on out, you'll get some classic era stuff and you get some later stuff, but I'm not even talking about just from a sales standpoint, like, oh, it's obvious, let's just go put out another Revolution one, they'll go run out and buy that one for sure. Like I said, this is a unanimous favorite amongst a lot of the collectors. So this is one I would definitely like to see done as a standalone CD. So I don't think out of all of that, I would say the Apple documentary, I would love to see that. I'm, probably the most anticipated things from that era. There's that. One of the hit and run shows, probably the birthday concert from Detroit. That's one I would definitely like to see released. That one more so on DVD. Now, there's some of the Hendrix. I'm trying to think. The Atlanta Pop Festival concert, that one. But let's see. Oh, the Isle of Wight. That performance. Mainly with those, the selling points were the DVDs, but they were also released in CD form as well. So with, say, like the birthday show in Detroit, like I said, that one in particular, that one you could sell the DVD, you could sell the Blu-ray, and then you can turn around, you can also sell at the same time the CD as well. I guess the norm for both the estate and with the Warner Brothers releases thus far, I guess the standard is to package it all together. I'm fine with that too. I guess I don't know why it's different with the Hendrix material. I don't know if that's just a measure of what the Hendrix estate prefers, as opposed to, in this case, maybe the Prince estate somehow feels that, packaging a DVD with the CD works as well. Like I said, either way it's fine. Either way, you've got my, purple ducats, so by all means, give me the purple vitamins, I'll give you the purple ducats, so there, you throw me the idol, I throw you the whip, that kind of thing. So, I don't know, yeah, so those three, but yeah, definitely the First Avenue birthday show from 84. Then, I don't know if that was ever filmed. I doubt if that was ever filmed. So that one you could just give me the standalone CD on that one. And if there's photographs from it, even better. Just go ahead and give me a nice booklet, documenting the history of everything with that and some cool pictures. Like I said, just give me the mastered audio and, that's one of those things I'll just be blown away by when I hear it. Same thing with the, with the birthday show, that one as well. I know because the Purple Rain, it's not Purple Rain, the 1999 Super Deluxe, I really enjoyed the live CD on that one. And I really enjoyed, I don't know, I haven't watched the DVD pretty much since a little bit after I got the whole set. So I don't know, I have to watch that one again, actually. But I really enjoyed listening to the CD a lot on that. So I guess as far as sound quality, that's one of those things with the DVD or the Blu-ray. That's one I just kind of like to sit back and just get the whole experience visually and, audio visual experience, the whole bit on that. So, I don't know, some great stuff and I know I'm leaving out some things. I don't know if there is some audio that exists, because when they did the America video, that was like a whole concert that was done, I think, right after they recorded that video for America. So if there is some audio from that show, that's one I'd like to see released too. Let's see. And again, I don't know if that was filmed in its entirety or if they just filmed what they needed for the America video and then just did a whole concert after. I don't know. But yeah, definitely that's one I would like to hear if that does exist. Both film and CD. And let's see what else. I know I'm leaving out some things. Benefits show, birthday shows. Let's see, the live in Atlanta. I think that's one Sony could stand to put out again. Probably something within the first couple of years. And again, like I said, we'll also get, lots of our purple vitamin fix with, Parade, a Super Deluxe, Around the World in a Day. Again, like I said, look up previous episodes of Amari Purple Talk. I discussed both of those in depth and how awesome those would be. And like I said, with Around the World in a Day, it's not my favorite Prince and the Revolution album, but a Super Deluxe edition, because it would be the remastered album and the vault material. Hearing all of that together, man, then it would kind of bump that particular project up on my list of favorites for sure with that. But like I said, just check previous episodes of Amari Purple Talk. I've discussed both of those albums. So, yeah, of course, like I said, we'll get that. But, like I said, for me, I think, like I said, the Apple TV documentary, Detroit show, and First Avenue birthday show, I think those would probably be my most anticipated Prince and the Revolution era releases. But what do you think? I know I probably left out a bunch of key historic moments, and just forgive me, but like I said, those three, that's my top three. So let's just leave it at that. But if you guys have a better idea of what the estate and Sony will release come 2021 in regards to that particular era, leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that is going to end our 40th episode of Amari Purple Talk. And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to give you more and more. And I hope everyone will enjoy it. I know thank you to everyone that's been tuning in. And of course, you can always follow me on Instagram at Richard Cole _Amari. You can follow me on Twitter at Richard Cole _now. Check the show notes for the appropriate spellings and capitalization if necessary. Also, please continue to download and listen on your favorite podcast platform. And like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, check out my What's in the Crate articles. It's a blog just basically about my record collection. So, quite a few articles in. The Lakeside, Your Wish Is My Command album. That's the latest blog post. The Beatles Revolver, I'm working on this week. Probably in, give me about a couple of weeks probably, if not sooner. I will do another Prince album for that particular blog. But it's What's in the Crate. That link is in the show notes as well. And also, don't forget, pick up some Amari merchandise. Go to www.amaricommunications.com. Hit the merchandise page and shop away. Everything's manufactured and distributed by Cafe Press. Some really good stuff. You probably see me wearing a lot of the stuff on various Facebook, Instagram posts, things of that nature. Also some good advertisement photos as well. So definitely, by all means, pick up a shirt, pick up a mug. There's all kind of various designs. Don't have any masks yet. Got my R&D department working on that. So hopefully you can have some cool masks coming up soon as well. And that will be it. So again, once again, thank you for tuning in, and catch you guys next week. And as always, keep it purple and on the one.